Good morning, endurance friends. Matt Mossman, the Chief Endurance Officer over at EndurElite. Today, I have a question for you. Do you like taking beetroot powder before endurance exercise? If so, I think that's awesome and I love it too. Beetroot powder is one of the more proven supplements known to increase endurance performance. But what if I told you you can get a product with beetroot powder in it and 9 other endurance enhancing ingredients that taste great and is about the same cost as standalone beetroot products on the market? If so, would you be interested? Today I would like to introduce to you PerformElite, the endurance athlete's pre-workout. Now, PerformElite has an efficacious dose of beetroot powder plus 9 other endurance enhancing ingredients. Now, beetroot by itself is absolutely fantastic and there's a lot of great standalone beetroot products on the market. But beetroot only addresses one area of increasing endurance performance, and there's a plethora of other areas of endurance performance you can increase through the use of various supplements. And that is why we created PerformElite. So today, what we're going to do is take a quick look at PerformElite and some of the ingredients that make it the best pre-workout on the market for endurance athletes. Now, one thing to note right off the bat, PerformElite contains research-proven ingredients at clinical dosages. These are not ingredients that are just tested in rats and thrown in a formula, and the amounts of them are not just fairy dusted in where it's not going to do anything at all. Each of the ingredients has multiple clinical trials behind it, and each of the ingredients has the clinical dose demonstrated to enhance various areas of endurance performance. So let's delve right in to the ingredients in PerformElite. The first one is beetroot powder dosed at 1,670 milligrams. Now, like I said before, beetroot powder is one of the more studied endurance enhancing ingredients. And the way it works is beetroot powder lowers the ATP or energy cost of exercise. In a nutshell, this means that taking beetroot powder before exercise makes harder exercise seem easier, or the same amount of exercise requires less energy. The second ingredient in PerformElite is taurine. Now, you may be familiar with this one. It's not from bull semen. Taurine is an amino acid found in a lot of different energy drinks, but it has a plethora of research behind it as far as increasing endurance performance by reducing muscle breakdown, reducing lactic acid during exercise, and then also promoting angiogenesis, or the formation of new blood vessels. With more blood vessels means more blood's getting to working muscles, and you can perform longer and stronger. And in fact, a recent meta-analysis just came out, which is a combination of a bunch of studies on taurine, showing that 1 to 6 grams daily can significantly enhance endurance performance. This is why we put 1,500 milligrams of taurine in PerformElite. Now, the next ingredient is one you may have not heard of yet, and this is an ingredient called Peak O2, and we included a gram of this in PerformElite. Now, Peak O2 is a blend of 6 different mushroom strains, including cordyceps, and these mushroom strains act as what we know as adaptogens. Now, adaptogens help you adapt and overcome the mental and physical stress of endurance exercise. And this particular ingredient has a lot of cool research behind it, done at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, showing 7 days of supplementing with Peak O2 can increase VO2 max and increase power output. 2 things that are extremely important in performing well in endurance exercise, whether it's running, biking, swimming, or obstacle course racing. Now, the next ingredient is one you are all probably pretty familiar with, and this is beta-alanine. Now, beta-alanine acts as a muscle acidity buffer. As you exercise and exercise intensity increases, the muscle becomes more acidic. Beta-alanine works by saturating muscle carnosine stores, and carnosine helps buffer the rise in muscle acidity as exercise intensity increases. Beta-alanine is extremely effective, especially for bouts of exercise lasting 60 to 240 seconds. So think about a breakaway during a cycling event or a sprint at the end of a run or powering up an obstacle. Beta-alanine can help all those aspects of performance. Next, we go on to choline bitartrate at 1,000 milligrams. Now, choline is converted into acetylcholine in the body. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that can help with focus, and then it also helps to create more efficient muscle contractions. Now, as you exercise, the acetylcholine pool is basically minimized. So by adding choline bitartrate, you prolong the life of the acetylcholine pool, so you have prolonged focus and more efficient muscle contractions. The next one that goes along with choline bitartrate is Huperzine A, dosed at 0.05 milligrams. Now, Huperzine A acts to inhibit the breakdown of choline. So again, by combining choline bitartrate with Huperzine A, this minimizes the breakdown of acetylcholine so it stays in your body longer, and again, maintains your focus and then helps with more efficient muscle contractions. Next ingredient is Actogen, again, maybe one you haven't heard of, and this is dosed at 50 milligrams. Now, Actogen comes from ginseng, and the most notable thing about Actogen is it can increase rates of glycogen resynthesis up to 300%. Now, we all know glycogen is the preferred energy source during endurance exercise, and again, as endurance exercise intensity increases. So replenishing muscle glycogen stores is extremely important for an endurance athlete, and Actogen will help with this. Next ingredient is Eleva-ATP, which comes from ancient peat and apple extracts. Now that sounds really confusing. Basically, these are fossilized plants. We have approximately, well, exactly 200 milligrams of Eleva-ATP in Performalite, and this ingredient actually has a ton of cool research behind it too. But what you need to know about Eleva-ATP is that it helps stimulates the body's production of ATP. Now, ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, you can think of as the cellular energy currency of the body. Everything we do requires ATP from breathing to walking to running. Without it, we basically die. Muscular contractions require ATP, and when that ATP pool gets diminished, muscle contractions aren't efficient and you fatigue a lot quicker. So with the Eleva-ATP, again, it helps stimulate the production of ATP in the body so you have more for your body to use to prolong your endurance exercise. Moving on to the next ingredient, caffeine anhydrous at 150 milligrams. Now, hands down, and I will argue this with anybody, besides carbs, there's no other supplement or ingredient that's been demonstrated to enhance endurance performance more than caffeine anhydrous. There are over 1,000 studies on caffeine showing it can increase time to exhaustion, help you run faster, cycle faster. The list goes on. And basically, caffeine anhydrous works by competing with a molecule in the body known as adenosine. Now, when adenosine binds to the adenosine molecule, you get fatigued. But what caffeine does is competes with this adenosine molecule at the receptor so that you don't get fatigued. Caffeine anhydrous also may help with the release of calcium from something called the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Calcium is required for efficient muscular contractions. If the caffeine does this, muscular contractions are more efficient and last longer. Caffeine anhydrous may also help with fat oxidation and spare glycogen. So if you can use fat as a fuel source, especially during lower intensity exercises, and use more of it as opposed to glycogen, you can save that glycogen for more intense efforts later down the line. Now, a lot of you are probably saying right now, caffeine causes dehydration. This is based on a myth, on a study back done in like 1970, where the researcher had people take caffeine anhydrous with 12 ounces of water, and he noticed that they peed more. Well, guess what? It was just that they drank the 12 ounces of water that they peed more. If you're taking your caffeine anhydrous with 8 to 16 ounces of water, like we recommend in Perform Elite, it's not going to dehydrate you to any extent where it's going to have a negative impact on your performance. Another argument against caffeine is people will say it's going to shoot my heart rate up or my blood pressure up. Well, the exact opposite actually happens when you take caffeine anhydrous in the majority of the population, and this is based on research. Research has shown that caffeine taken 60 minutes before exercise can actually lower heart rate and blood pressure during submaximal exercise. So, we have 150 milligrams of caffeine in Perform Elite in combination with another 65 milligrams of caffeine from one of the other ingredients in Perform Elite, and this ingredient is known as Pure Energy, which is a combination of caffeine and pterostilbene. Now, we put 150 milligrams of Pure Energy in combination with the 150 milligrams of caffeine anhydrous. That yields about 215 milligrams total of caffeine in Perform Elite. Now, you may be saying, this is a lot of caffeine, but that is not the case. Research has shown that in order to have an endurance-enhancing effect, you need to take about 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram body weight. So the 215 milligrams found in Perform Elite is probably the sweet spot for most endurance athletes. But back to Pure Energy. The reason we put Pure Energy in Perform Elite is it actually prolongs the half-life of caffeine anhydrous. Regular caffeine anhydrous by itself has a half-life of about 4 to 6 hours. When you add it with the Pure Energy, you get it up to about 8 hours. So what does this mean when you combine the two together? It means you get that noticeable immediate kick of caffeine without being over the top or being jittery, and a nice prolonged release of caffeine and energy that will not give you the crash when it's kind of getting out of your system. So the two together is really, really an awesome combination. So my endurance friends, that in a nutshell is what Perform Elite is and how it is so much different than just a standalone beetroot product. Again, standalone beetroot products are awesome. I love beetroot powder, but it only addresses one area of enhancing endurance performance. And again, that is why we added beetroot powder and 9 other endurance enhancing ingredients to Perform Elite. Now, if you want to give Perform Elite a try, we're going to do a one-time deal. Go to www.endurelite.com, add a Perform Elite to your cart, and use the discount code BEATIT at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. You will not be disappointed with the results you get with Perform Elite. And if for some reason you are, EndurElite always offers a full 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you don't like it, which we don't think will happen, there's no risk on your part. So give it a try today, my endurance friends.